All righty. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, I forgot my water or my coffee. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. It's Deanna. It's nice to see you today. Um, I feel like we just said goodnight to each other 5 minutes ago, which is a good feeling because we had a really good momentum going last night as we were looking at magnificent bugs in rugs. And we decided to have one more episode to complete just the original selection of slides that I put in to look at this amazing book that accompanied the show, Struggling with Glasses. You know how many pairs I have, and guess what? I can't find any of them. Remarkable, isn't it? It's just like the car keys, glasses and car keys. My God. Um, so we've been looking at this book that was sort of curated by lots of different makers, but curated by Yvonne Eiten Scott and Leslie Knight. So two of the Canadians were on the former Tigger board and had this magnificent display of bugs up, and the book that accompanied it, almost like a playbill for a theater program, right? We've been looking at this, and this will be the last day that we dig into this. I'm trying to think about Friday. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. First, we'll dig in because we were having some great fun last night in the evening show, looking at some of these designs that I think are exceptional. Let me see. Buddy's here. Oh, I bet it's called MC Peculiar. I really love this little series. I've been thinking about attempting another hooked project. Ooh, there we go. I'm thinking a moth, a very small but beautiful moth, the primrose moth. Well, let me see what he looks like. Let me get my phone. I'm curious to see him. Um, and do you have a composition in mind? You're still kind of evolving that composition? That sounds fantastic. Makes me think about Robert Frost poem. I think it's just called To a Moth. That is so sweet about this moth that lands in the palm, like in his glove, in his hand, and about it's such a sweet poem about its vulnerability and its desire for warmth and to connect, and it's a beautiful poem. This is a great idea. What a gorgeous creature. Let me find a good, okay, here's a good picture. Ooh, what is that doodle on its back? Okay, maybe that's not on everyone. Here, let me just hold it up and see if it comes in. I'm right in the window light, but it's a light pink moth with white. It's very romantic looking little moth. There we go. Oh, what a pretty little thing that is. Gosh, it's like a little folded up doily or a little folded up hanky. That is a beautiful little thing. What a great idea. Yeah, I know let me put myself back on airplane. Looking at these examples really fires your imagination, and it does bring some ideas forward, right? Ideas that were always in there, but brings them forward. And if you can do some problem solving, compositional problem solving, by looking at other people's stuff, well, sometimes that's the only push that you need, right? Because the idea is there, the desire is there, and sometimes it's just a question of doing a little more targeting. Um, but yeah, oh God, I think that would be an amazing composition. Thinking about with the pink and the white, what would be a nice background for that? And I suppose it depends on what the habitat is and if you want it to be literal, because of course we're seeing ones in the book, we're seeing insects in the book that are very literal, very realistic, and we're seeing others that are almost cartoony. And the proof is in the pudding. They're all beautiful, right? They're all stunning and different. And I think the key is not which style you choose, but to choose. And once you choose what kind of style you're going to do, to make a real commitment to it and to make sure that all of your subsequent decisions are aligned with what that vision is, because when you start flip-flopping, then you get sort of a mix of styles, and then it can become confusing, or it can be a lot. But if you stay true to, like, what you just, I'm going to do a primitive moth, and it's going to be super primitive, and it's all going to be ripped wool, and that's how it's going to be. Stick to it, and it's going to be a great project. Otherwise, so many examples in here, right? And I think we're loving all of the ones we're seeing. Cheryl, great to see you. Happy Monday, and it is still cold. Oh my gosh, I bet. I can't wait to get out there. I really can't. I think about it all the time. I have not heard back from our people who we always rent the house from, which makes me nervous because they are getting older. I mean, we are all getting older, but they are really getting older. And I'm thinking, why has it taken them so long to respond, to lock in the dates, Oh boy, I don't know. It makes me very nervous. I don't like it when I don't like it when things change. Did I tell you yesterday? We always go to the Cape for a couple of weeks, and we will this year too, even if God forbid we have to stay somewhere else for the first time in my life, because we've been going to this pond for, well, since before I was born, so a really long time, more than 50 years. So more than 54 years. So yeah, so I signed Joss up for this summer camp on two summer camps. One of them, I think I told you at Mystic Aquarium, where she'll go for 1 week this summer and handle the animals and clean up their spots and like an aquarium job. She'll get a feel for what an aquarium job is. And since she is so obsessed with marine animals, this is like a dream come true for her. I have to admit, I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought to myself, oh my God, my thought was to drive her back and forth for that week. It's like in July, so it's miles away. My thought was to drive her back and forth, and I forgot that we moved. So we used to be an hour away from Mystic. So that would be, hour back and forth, 2 hours. So 4 hours driving total. And I thought, oh my God, now we're in Collinsville. How far is that? Is it like 2 hours each way? Because then it's like 2 hours there, 2 hours back, wait a few hours, 2 hours, 8 hours of driving a day. I mean, that's a game changer. Turns out it's an hour and 35 minutes away. So still set, she's doing it. She's doing it. I just have to figure out what to do as far as the driving because it's like you drop her off at 8 in the morning and I don't turn into like a pumpkin and disappear. I have to go somewhere and at least it'll be summer. I could always on a nice day, I guess, drive to the ocean and bring my computer or my tablet, work on designs, work on hooking, maybe wait for the library to open. It's kind of sad, isn't it? Sad and stressful. Kind of wait because I have to work during that time. I can't not work or I'll go out of my mind. But I could bring projects and stuff. I guess I could plan ahead because I don't know that it's worth driving back and forth with, you know, 6+ hours a day is it's a lot. It's only for a week, I know. But wouldn't it be fabulous if the car broke down on like one of these epic days? Anyway, I booked a second thing for her on Cape Cod, a second camp for a different week where she is on a like charter boat for 4 days fishing. Same thing, early in the morning till like 4:30 and there's six kids out there, 11 to 13, and there are three adults. Right now, I'm getting nervous thinking about it because I'm like, God, I hope a whale doesn't bump the boat and they capsize, right? But they do this all the time, and they're teaching them different kinds of fishing because she loves fishing so much, and they put down traps and they pull up lobster traps and they put down like the oceanographic cameras and stuff. They put the cameras below the water to like look at the kinds of fish that are down there. They dissect a shark, right? So it has like a science base. It sounds amazing. So she was so excited about both. She couldn't choose between the two. And since they're so different, and that I had to choose Hyannis for that because I just found it over the weekend. And I would have chosen Martha's Vineyard just for like a real getaway for me too. But I had to choose Hyannis because it was between Hyannis and Falmouth, Cheryl. But Falmouth for me, if I'm on in Chatham, is way too long to go back and forth each day twice. Anyway, that's what's going on here. So I'm very happy to have that done. But the original program I wanted to sign up for apparently doesn't exist because, as we know, important grants for children's education and for science are nowadays considered very woke. So a lot of grants were canceled, including the original one she was going to do at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, right? Like world renowned, is one of those. So good thing I found these other two. I will be on the Cape a lot this summer. That's the bottom line. Catherine, great to see you. And Kirsten, great to see you. I'm not done going back and forth. I have more fun in me. Beautiful sunny day in Vermont. Absolutely here too. This is a gorgeous, ice cold, but gorgeous day. Diane, great to see you. That sounds charming. I agree that the series has been fun. Yeah, that primrose moth is a little killer, isn't it? That is a little jewel. Um, yeah, I hope that you could synthesize it and remain passionate about it. I came across a little beauty a few days. Came across the little. Oh, one. Did you really? You get so many beautiful bugs. Um, Beauty a few years ago while I was harvesting for medicine. That is so cool. That is so cool. Mary, that's you, right? That's you. You're getting a lot of cool things where you are. Marilyn, great to see you. There were past episodes, but they're always there, so you'll be able to see them. They are as long as YouTube is there, they're there. Have to figure out how to back up the channel just in case, right? Because there are thousands of videos there, Mary. That's right. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I forget what the handles, right? They're called handles. What the handles are. Sharon, great to see you. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Keeley on Saturday for the live show in Hartford. I'm really excited. And that live show, the opening for it has been open, but the party opening for the Rose Book show at the Unitarian Society of Hartford is Saturday on Valentine's Day at 3 p.m. If you want to come, let me know. You are super welcome. I think there's a lot of people coming. Like a lot. People keep writing to me and saying, I'm really looking forward to it. And there are people I didn't realize were coming, both from the congregation and from my buddies, my rug hooking buddies. So I'm super, super excited. Our school has no heat. You're kidding. Okay, so I hope that you're at home, right? Because that's like uncivilized. Great, me too. I'm really excited. I think I'm going to put together, and I will do. I will. Sharon, maybe you or Keely could help record a partial live video while I'm doing the presentation, or maybe somebody can, because I think that would be fun. I won't be able to like answer questions in the thread until we do like question and answer time, but it might be fun to record some of it, stream some of it live, so people at home are able to watch some of the presentation. I think because I expect a crowd, that I am going to put together a quick PowerPoint on the screen so I can kind of go through each one. The presentation will be geared for people who are not rug hookers, but I'm hoping that, no pressure, Sharon, but I'm hoping that some of the people who go who are hookers, I know Shay is going as well. I know Susan's going, Susan Wentworth. I'm hoping at least one person will be willing to like pull up some loops just to show hooking, because I still have a ton of rug hooking supplies at the church for people who want to come and learn. I'm always happy to teach for free when people come on days that we get together and do it. So I'm hoping that people will want to just pull up a few loops just for fun to be able to say, now I'm a hooker, right? Because that's hilarious every time. Is it? Is it hilarious? It is the first 1,000 times, and we've hit tilts. So but there will be lots of laughs. There will be lots of hooker laughs for sure. Oh, good, an emergency day. Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's just a stream, and you can see when it's on and off, because I've been wanting to make that live, and I think I'm just going to blast. There's 40 rugs, so I think I'm going to blast them on the screen, say a few things about them, and I won't be talking technically like this is a good example of Waldeboro. I'm just going to talk generally and allow people to ask questions, because there are a lot of very artistic people in this congregation. I mean, I would say it's 50% doctors, specifically psychiatrists or psychologists, and 50% artists. There's not much of anything else in there. So I do expect some whoppers of questions, but yeah, I think it'll be fun to share it and to be able to stream at least part of it live. So, and I'll try not to say bad words. We do often say bad words amongst ourselves. We have a lot of fun / too much fun, but I'll try to be careful while we're recording the live video. We are very informal at the USH. So let's come back over here. So that leaves me thinking, will I do a Friday show, because it will be the eve of that, and I guess it's going to really depend on how together I am with that. So that's a to be continued. Let's see where I'm coming at you this weekend for a live show, because it'll certainly be for the presentation. You know what else I keep thinking about is our old bingo nights. Do you remember how much fun those were? I got very nervous because I know that there are people who specifically are not fans, right? Because they feel in too many places, or they see my face too much, or they just don't like me based on my face or whatever. Um, um, and I got a bit worried because we were buying cards and then I was distributing gift certificates, right? And I thought, oh, they could really get me for that, and like whatever. But I'm thinking maybe if we could do a variation on a game night, it could be really fun, because those are so interactive. And I would be asking you a question sometimes for the trivia version, and you would all be answering in the thread. And it was very lively. Maybe I'll try to put together one of those. That was really fun. Once I did, do you remember the night that we did a crossword, and I put a crossword together that you downloaded in advance, and you tried to fill out all the things without cheating and Googling? And then on the night of the cocktail time, I did all the answers for the questions. And so those of you who hadn't filled them in or filled the wrong thing in were able to change them and rework it. That was really fun too. I liked trivia night and I liked crossword night. What do you think? That is hilarious. Shared your channel with my daughter. a while back. Meet some real hookers. Yes, I know, right? And crochet people are also call themselves hookers. I don't think that's quite fair. Like we are truly hookers. I think crochet people should say, I crochet. I'm a crocheter. Because we can't all be called hookers, right? And I think we can't. I was just going to say we can't be called ruggers, but at one point in the 20th century, ruggers was more popular to say than hookers for obvious reasons. And then hookers became very funny, and we started saying hookers. But like in the 40s, 50s, it was way more common to say ruggers or thrummers. And yeah, we weren't quite hookers yet. Yeah, but now we're a little less uptight, I guess, right? Oh, Goretti, great to see you in Ontario from cold Ontario. Oh, I bet it is. I don't know if Paul is on, but you remember yesterday, I already deleted the old slides just for space, and it keeps it prevents glitches, right? If I don't have too many, if I don't have like 100 images in the show. Let me pull up Walking Stick. Do you remember Walking Stick yesterday by Mary Tooley Parker? The one with the little, yeah, stick man, the bug that's a little stick and the pink circle around it. Well, right after the show, Paula sent the cutest picture because when she was little, her family used to have walking stick races. Let me show you this photo. It is too funny. It sounds like it was such a lot of fun. Let me pull up here's the photo, and you can see the walking sticks. Let me pull up the email. I think she wrote something really cute. I'll come off the airplane mode again. And let's see, that was only last night. Um, walking stick races. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there was another one. Um, oh, they kept the walking sticks in pretzel jars, fed them with leaves, hatched new ones, and had fun having these races. I mean, isn't that so fun? And you can see them. I kind of wondered if each walking stick bug was different. You know what I mean? Like I just thought, is it random like a branch is random where it can be things can be sticking out from different directions, or do they all more or less have the same body? And looking at these little guys, it's like I think they all more or less have the same body. They are so funny. I'm guessing that this was very slow going, these races. But what a lot of fun. What a great thing for kids to be able to play with insects, be around insects, and not be terrified of insects. It always makes me really sad when kids are afraid of animals, and I mean, it depends on the insect, obviously. I'm not a big insect person. But yeah, I'm very proud to have a daughter who will touch anything. And to have, both of my kids be real lovers of dogs, cats, horses, like, maybe not like a wild boar, um, or a polar bear, but like pets. It always makes me sad when you see kids like cringe when you're walking like a Yorkie because it's like, come on, I mean, kids and animals go together naturally, right? Teach them how to love animals and care for animals. Don't make them afraid of animals. Mary says, I live on 3 acres in the middle of farm country in central Indiana. I asked my husband not to mow everything down. I love the wild things, and so do my chickens. I love that sentiment, Mary. It's so true when you leave some things to be, right, just the way they always were, because back in the day, right, back in the early settlement days, there was always, and even before European settlement, there was always fallow time, right? The Native Americans all had systems for cultivating certain fields and certain pieces of land in certain years and then letting them grow and then, harvesting again because that was the best result. And then, you give everything a rest, right? The idea, not everything can go full throttle all of the time, not people, not plants, not land, not anything. So that always was the way. It is nice to, when I look at the way the street is less here than in our old house, there was like such, in our old house, it was a very busy neighborhood because it was right outside Yale, a very nice neighborhood, right? Almost everybody worked at Yale. Everybody was very, very nice, but yards right on top of each other, and there was always this like pressure within the Facebook groups, like remember everybody to like you get the leaf blower out and blow your leaves into bags and whatever. And then there was always like the counterculture of people who included us, that we were like, well, we're going to tidy things up like in the driveway so our leaves don't blow into your yard, but we always left like leaves for mulch for the following year. so that things could live there. Eggs, some insects lay eggs and they're there like all winter under the snow. We were always conscious about that. We're also very lazy, right? To be honest. And when I say we, I more mean him. But being a biologist, and my husband is a biologist, he's got very strong ideas about leaving things be, right? Not letting nature take over, but being thoughtful about it. So I love that sentiment, and that's when things come, right? When you have when you have like an environment for them. Our Almighty commands us to let the land rest after 7 years. Oh, is that like the fallow time break off? I suppose it depends on what it is, right? I know around here there's like 4 years for some stuff, maybe corn or something like that, because there's always that balance between business. I think about this with the corn mazes because they have these corn mazes out here every year, and it makes a spectacular profit, I'm sure, but it's also like a cultural thing. Like we all go to several corn mazes. It's so fun, You spend money on the farm and you buy the pumpkins and you buy the corn and you buy the Indian corn for decoration, and it's all so much fun. But I do wonder how hard that is on like the land to keep that going every year and to keep it manicured and yeah. One of these days, maybe I will become more of a country person, and I will know more answers to some of these country questions. I love this subject. Paula, thank you so much for sending this photo in. This really gives me perspective also about the size of these things. I don't know that I see these. I feel like as a child I saw them, but it might be that I saw them in a book and I never saw them in real life. I don't know. I don't know. I know there's some pretty big bugs out here, like June bugs, right? Are really big. Ooh, God, they give me the heebie-jeebies. But it's funny to see them because I didn't even have an idea in my head about how big these things were and how skinny their little bodies were. And my God, they are just sticks. They are cute little things. Paula, thank you so much. Now, this is where we left off last night. And when I saw this one, I thought, no, let's not. I was too tired. I didn't want to rush it. This is a lace wing. Now, I don't know, maybe we'll find out in the poem, but I don't know um, what sort of species. Like, is it a moth? Is it a beetle? Doesn't look like a moth or a butterfly. Maybe it's some kind of a beetle. It's a flying bug, right? Um, but it's like for me, I don't know what a lacewing is, so it's hard to say like, oh, well, that's a nice lacewing. Diane says, I make wild rabbits in my backyard. LOL, I left a brush pile and they get fruitful and multiply. Oh, I see. You're like breeding them back there. You know just what they like. Oh, how fun. I saw one little bunny this weekend in the snow at my mom's house. One little guy came up to the area where she throws out all the bird seed and stuff, where the bird feeder is. Of course, it's frozen over and there's 2 feet of snow on it, but it's where all the little birds come. There was one little bunny came across the snow, and I thought, oh man, he's so exposed because there's like so many big birds too. But he came hopping across, and of course, Buttons, my dog, ran up to the window and like threw himself against the window, and the bunny ran off. But he was just kind of hiding, and then he came right back. I made Button sit with me so that the bunny could get a chance to eat, because I haven't seen one yet. And I always, to me, it's spring when I see the first bunny because I don't see them until the weather's warm. So this was a funny occurrence to spot one in the snow. Wondering if he's living under my mom's porch or something like that. I kind of hope that he is. But all of the characters, oh, all of the characters in the snow. This is such a hard winter for them. I don't begrudge them. We put food out a couple of times a day. I think my mom does 3 times. And I don't begrudge it them because there's so much snow. I mean, how would they ever find anything? Poor little doodlers. Well, here is our lacewing. Let's first read his poem, then we'll talk about who made this piece, and then let's talk about this extraordinary composition and formulate your impressions of this composition because this is very different than all of the others in the book. Lacewings, with all their beauty and grace, play a vital role in the insect race. They feast on pests like aphids and mites, keeping plants healthy, a gardener's delight. With sharp mandibles they devour their prey, pest control in a most natural way. Their wings are transparent with veins so fine, patterns that glitter and dance in sunshine. These are beautiful poems. I mean, these really are fine poems. I love poetry. They're very, very well written, very clever. And yeah, who knew that there was so much sort of um, meat on the bone with language for composing poems about bugs, right? You think it'd be like, uh-oh, hit a dead end, but each one is like more beautiful than the last. So here's this little guy. Let's figure out who made Lacewing. There he is. Susan Gillespie of Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Absolutely stunning. Now, this has something. Lacewing is a moth. Okay, interesting. See, it's so pretty, but I know that there are pretty moths. You can feel here that it is a transparent wing. And I gotta say, I didn't know that moths had transparent wings, although last night, do you remember the really colorful one? What was that? Was it called a rainbow moth or something? Let me see if I can find it. Um, that one had colorful wings that were also semi-transparent. Yeah, no, the Madagascar sunset moth was very colorful. So, um, this one is not colorful, but he is transparent. Funny. Look at his little head too. He's got like a little like sort of little snout, like a little mini anteater snout. Big antennae, very transparent. Remember the first time we ran this episode, we had a conversation about transparency because it is bound to come up when we talk about bugs, right? Talking about transparency is bound to come up because so many have wings that are transparent, and it's very hard to capture, particularly when it's only part of the body, right? So this is a funny one because even though this is a transparent wing, the wing isn't done in complete transparency. And I think that's important because I think the most immediate and obvious thing about this composition is that it is very monochromatic. So another trick, right? Another trick in our bag of tricks. How do you make such a little character as this lacewing? How do you make him stand out? The composition, what's in the composition? A lacewing. What else is in the composition? Well, just like the leaf in the background, right? So and rather abstract, rather out of focus. So the sort of concentration of focus is the lacewing, right? He is absolutely the star. There's no competition here. Mary says they suck the juice out of aphids and then use the dry carcass as camouflage. Oh, how cool is that? They are like little weird soldiers. Fine background striations. What size is it hooked, do you think? No, it's not yarn. It's definitely wool. Without knowing the size, I would say that I would guess this is a 6 or 7 because I know it's big, right? Just remembering back to none of them were small at the display. They were all quite big. It could be as large as an 8. I think if you look, let me make it big for just a second. I want to talk about that real fast. Let's just look, talking about sizing and cut, right? One more time, one more little ride. All right. So look at the top of his body and that white line, right? That white outline. That looks quite small in white. And look immediately above it at the first row of green strips that is going around his body. That's a little bit thicker. So we've got at least 2 sizes at play here. I would say that the antennae are the thicker cut, like the same cut that is outlining his body in green. So at least 2 cuts here. And so let's come back down and let's look at this as a composition. So this speaks to the conversation we've had many times about the idea for this piece is that the main character is the bug. Boom, that's it. So the bug is hooked in a fairly realistic way, like quite realistic, right? We're seeing his body, we see his shape, we see his sort of front, sort of praying mantis legs, like all folded up. We see his kind of orangey, his big bug eye, the silhouette of his little snout. We get a feel for what his little body looks like. His little body is quite small with those big wings on the side of it, right? So the wings are transparent enough that we're able to see that little sort of caterpillar body in the middle. At least that's how I'm reading it. I don't think the whole white thing is the bug. I think the little green body is the bug, and the leaves are semi-transparent, right? Because we can see the body through. Um, because if you look, the second wing, the one that's in behind, is less gray and white than the one in front. So the one in front has 2 layers of transparency. So in theory is like twice as opaque. And the other is more of that gray color, not really bringing the green through, but just more of a gray. So the bug really stands alone in this composition. It doesn't have an immediate relationship to the background. The wings are done in white and gray, not white and green. Doesn't matter. He really, and I think that it's better this way because he really stands out. His body is very pronounced. We can see him clearly. We get the impression that this kind of green, this dynamic green shoot that he's sitting on, um, is greenery, is some kind of greenery that he's climbing on. So it is a very interesting choice to, he's green, right? Because his little body's green. The leaf is green because the leaf is green. It's a very interesting choice to then put more green in the background. Now, what do you think of this? It's an opinion thing. I think this is so personally daring and bold. I think that using green in the background, number one, creates a background that is out of focus, right? It's like more forest, more greenery, like more habitat. It's out of focus. Um, it gives you the opportunity to play with color, right? So Diane says like all these striations, all of these different colors coming in and stopping and starting in different places. It's like it's color that's being dragged. This very warm, kind of mossy, grassy, in its lightest value, almost citrusy shades of green being dragged across and creating a blur, which is exciting. It's like you would see a photograph where it was not a multi-focus photograph. It's a photograph where the creature is in focus and everything else is not. So you get an impression of a backdrop. But the backdrop is not taking away from your main focus, which is the bug. It's working the same way here. It's a very photographic approach to a composition for that reason. The fact that in the background, we've got wool strips going in different directions is very exciting to me. It creates a lot of energy. It creates a very lush space for this little character. And somehow, surrounded by so much greenery, it really gives the impression that this little guy is very small, very fine. He's just a little speck of a thing in a much bigger world. I think it furthers the storytelling rather than having all these in focus leaves around him to give you proportion. It leaves your mind to think, wow, what an itty bitty little character in the grand scheme of things. When look at this big world around him, right? He's so little compared to everything else around him. I think this is really brilliant. And I think the color plan is exciting. Um, Even though it's monochromatic. Monochromatic is exciting. We normally see monochromatic done in the context of landscapes and portraits, right? And that's probably because Donna Harkman teaches that and she's got such a big audience for that, so many takers. We rarely see this kind of a composition done monochromatically. And for me, my immediate thought isn't, oh, it's monochromatic. My immediate thought is of the story of the bug within the context of like all of this greenery around it. It's not, when you do monochromatic stuff that is landscape or portrait in nature, we tend to be talking about realism throughout. This isn't that, right? We are seeing a realistic bug, but we are not seeing realistic leaves and we are not seeing a realistic background. The only thing realistic about it is the color palette. So that's interesting because it's a substitution for what we're used to seeing. We are not seeing something of photographic realism done in a monochromatic palette. We are seeing, which is very rare, the story of, I mean, it's something of a portrait, right? But the story of this one insect, and the background is not realistic. It's an impression. So we're kind of moving toward impressionism with this piece. It's a combo piece. Mary says it looks like the moth is casting a shadow. You know, it does. That's a great point. It does look like that. That little shape under him really mirrors his little body, doesn't it? That's a great spot. I didn't notice that. It absolutely looks like that. And it makes sense because we are seeing from above and behind him, right, we are seeing a brighter greens. So it's implying that the sun is up there somewhere, coming through some kind of a canopy. Dan says, helps that both yellow undertone and blue undertone greens are used. You're right. So when we look at the greenery that he's standing on, we are seeing that spruce kind of a green, like a blue spruce, right? It's a green that moves toward blue, which is interesting, because if it's a blue green, it's a cooler green. If it's a yellow green, it's a warmer green, right? Because you think about the color wheel, red, orange, yellow, green, right? Is the green toward the yellow, or is it toward the blue, right? So, because it sits in the middle of both. One side is cooler, one side is warmer. When you have both, we're still talking about a monochromatic piece, but we're talking about a monochromatic piece that has so much variety. It strikes you as colorful, right? There's a lot going on. This is not a ho-hum piece. This is not a boring piece. When you say to yourself, I'm going to do something with a monochromatic palette, right? Or at least in part a monochromatic palette, this absolutely fills the bill. This isn't even duo. This is mono, because whites and grays are neutrals, so you can't count those unless you count that little red eye, which is a gray. It's like a tomato red eye, so it's on the orange side. It's a great complement to the green because it's opposite on the color wheel. Reds and greens are opposite. So this unusual tomatoey red against all of these greens is very striking. That really, again, feeds the storytelling, because it brings you, the face is tiny. It's like a little pinprick eye, but it brings you to the face. And we are humans, so we like to relate to things that we see. Unless we know that we're looking at abstract art, we seek to relate. It's very relatable to look and to find the face on something. Some of the insects in this book don't really have a face in the way that we would say, there's the face, right? Not all insects have that. This little guy does. He's got a neck, and he's got a face with an eye and a long nose, and it's very relatable. So the fact that, number one, he's in silhouette, I think, is a great decision. The fact that we're seeing his body through the wings, and it's emphasizing how little he is in the big world, it's very endearing. And all of these splashes and sort of the dragging of the color in the background is very exciting. And with, I think, all of these, with few exceptions, we're seeing a stationary insect, but many of these rugs give the impression of movement and energy, and that's because of the composition. That's because of the tricks, right? We are naming so many tricks in this series, and those tricks are there for all of us. A trick is just a device, right? Once you know it, if you attach to it and say, I think I like that, I think I can do that, then it becomes your trick too. This is not intellectual property. How to do a background in a way that it gives a lot of energy to your composition. That is never going to be a copyrighted thing, right? It's an idea, it's a technique, and it's one that you can pick up too, particularly if you're going to do the primrose moth, right? Okay, let's look at this guy next. This is another funny one. They're all so different. And again, I just want to remind you, because I hope that you are looking for this book. There's a lot more in this book that we won't do together on this show, that are there for you to find when you are laying on the couch or laying in bed, when you have the book in your hand. This one we have lots to talk about. This is the Man, M-A-N, the Man-Faced Stink Bug. The man-faced stink bug, strange and rare, a creature that captures our curious stare. When threatened, it releases a pungent smell, a strong defense that serves it well. With a needle-like mouth, it injects with precision its own saliva, a digestive decision. Plants sap, then flows, a liquid feast, a clever insect, to say the least. So it kind of sticks out this long tongue like a hypodermic, and draws in whatever it is, nectar or whatever, from the plant, sap. So I'm going to look at this one close up too. First, let's see. whose this is. This is Sue Dove of Cornwall. Oh, Cornwall. Of Cornwall, England. Oh, man. I have never been to Cornwall. I am ashamed to say. I want to go to Cornwall more than I want to go anywhere in this world. Always wanted to go there and do the whole Daphne du Maurier thing, you know. That's where Diane Cox was from as well, Cornwall. She had a studio there. Sue Dove, this is absolutely gorgeous. Let me write down that name. I want to see if I can reach out to her, see what she's doing over there. I love this piece. So, you know, these are all about style. And if you like this style, let me make this just a little bit bigger. I'm going to want to look at it in better detail. But I got to say, I love this style. It, you know, personal choice. This to me is my favorite style. It has a very graphic feel to it. It looks like this is not wool, right? This looks like fabric. You can see, and I'll show you closer up, but you can see the loops, right? And this is super in keeping with the British rag rug tradition of cutting stuff up, knits, cottons, you know, stretchy stuff, not stretchy stuff, wovens, all different kinds of everything. Absolutely everything, right? That is the British rag rug tradition. They are not purists with wool at all. And they have lots less to worry about with moths and critters, right? So something to think about, right? And just recycling, right? In principle, just recycling. What a good feeling it is when you're able to cut stuff up and use it, repurpose it. So Sue Dove, you're seeing on the left-hand side, the little face with the little reddish eyes, right? Wide set eyes like that kawaii thing that I drew quickly last night when Joss was here with us. Little head, right? Little head kind of hiding behind this kind of shield-shaped shell. Beautiful shell, very colorful. Interesting markings, right? There's this kind of grayish blue shape that goes around it. On top, it almost looks like it's wearing a bikini or sunglasses, right? Right under its head. If you look at it, you know what? Let's look at it the other way. We did this yesterday. Let's look at it the other way. Hold on. I'm going to tip it for a sec. I might tip it back if it doesn't work, and then let me make it smaller so we can see it different. Remember, this is a photo of something in a book, right? It will never do it justice. Yeah, let's look at it this way, because again, it's a different composition this way. And so a mixture of reds, right? And because I'm guessing that this is clothing, cut up clothing or clothing, you know, fabric, I'm seeing orange reds, I'm seeing vermilion, I'm seeing maroon, I'm seeing coral pink and straight up orange and pumpkin orange. I'm seeing a big mix of reds and yellows in this shell. Down, it's so colorful as anything. On the sides of the shell, we're seeing kind of a peppermint kind of stripe in black and white checkerboard, right? We're seeing white and gray, so a mixed fiber alternating with black. Amazing. And then at the kind of tail end, bum end, we're seeing the same fabric again, I think, mixed kind of in striping with black. And very heavy legs on this guy, right? Very heavy legs. And they are cut off, right? We're not seeing the bug like under a microscope. We're not seeing it pinned to a board. We're seeing it cropped, and we're seeing it in its natural environment. We're seeing it on leaves. And the body of the bug, we are looking at mostly warm reds, pinks, oranges, right? And then the neutral blacks and whites. On these leaves, we are seeing mostly cool colors, right? We're not seeing any warm greens. We are seeing a little bit of blue-green, but it's part of a pattern, right? And I'll make this larger for you to see, but we're seeing mostly cool greens, spearmint greens, mint greens, really bright, leafy, first spring, first green greens, right? The really bright ones. Behind that, we're looking at an earthy color that is kind of a purpley terracotta mixed with another mixed fabric. This reminds me of the work of Louise Creed as well. I'm going to make it much larger for you so you can see some of these loops. I just love this style of hooking so much. I think that's as far as I can go without bringing it out of focus, photo of a photo. But if you're able to look at some of these loops and lock in, you're seeing some of this is patterned fabric. This just gets me so excited to hit Savers and bring home some clothing. Oh God, I just love this so much. It is such a beautiful composition, and the choice of colors to me is beyond brilliant, because I'm going to make it small one more time. Because at the end of the day, and let me do it sideways again so we can see it large. Let me transform. Let's go left. one more time. I'm seeing leaves and bug with a little bit of background. Again, this is the whole story, but it's different. It's a different view. It's a crop. So it feels like a more informal view. It's also done with wider material. It's done with different materials than wool. So when I look at it, it feels more informal to me. It feels very wild and crazy and very artistic, bohemian, boho artistic. I just love the vibe of it. I feel like it's very painterly to be pulling out different colors and go, yeah, I think so. How about this there? How about this there? Because if you notice that background color, that's that kind of plummy terracotta, how does that go together? I don't know. It's magic. It's alchemy. That color is also present in the bug shell. Yet, because of the outlining, because of the strong graphic quality of this piece, it's not confusing to look at. We are seeing some colors, that are being borrowed and repeat from leaf to leaf and from shell to background. And it is not confusing because it's done so well. It's handled so well. How do you do this? You have to experiment. You have to experiment. And when you're doing something in a very graphic style, particularly with recycled or repurposed materials, you do want to say to yourself, how much of it am I going to outline, right? Because I'm working with materials that are a bit unstable in nature. It's not going to make a tidy little loop every time I pull up. It's going to make something different. It's going to make a crazy, lofty little balloon. And if I'm also adding in patterned material, black and white or gray and white, green and blue, right? And green, if I'm cutting up stripy shirts and floral shirts and pattern shirts, every loop is going to make a pattern, right? So we are not talking about solids. Solids are very stable, but when we're talking about prints, very unstable. You have to stand back and look often so that you know that it's reading well. The composition is further unstable by cropping the legs. Your eye is not going, got it. I can see it. I can see the shape of it, right? I've got it. It's You can't see some of it. You don't got it, right? It's off the edges, right? That makes it to me more informal and interesting. We're seeing an extreme close up, but it's done in such an artistic way. If it were done in a very realistic way, it would be a very different piece. For me, it's lots of splashes of color. It's lots of impression. It's lots of emotion. I'm getting emotion from the color palette. I'm not really thinking about how realistic this bug looks. I'm thinking about the impression that this bug is given me, and it's based a lot on the style of hooking and on the color palette. And these are complementary colors, reds and greens. So color palette is dynamite, and then we're looking at blacks, white, and grays, all neutrals. Luna moths are so magical. I really like praying mantises, but I bet that would be challenging. Well, I bet it would. There's a different mantis in here, right? You know, I don't think it, yeah, just my opinion. I don't think it would be particularly what we saw the Katie did last night. I don't think a praying mantis would be terribly um, difficult because we know what they look like. It's not an unknown one. You know what I mean? Some of these are like, what is that? But a praying mantis, well, we saw this one, the spiny flower mantis. A difficult body for sure. But I think what would be on your side would be that people would look at it and go, "Oh, that's a praying mantis." And I think with things like praying mantises and grasshoppers, I think people just love them. Like it's hardwired. Like while I'm not a bug person and I don't want to see bugs. When I see those bugs, I go, "Oh, look it! Be careful! Be careful!" We recognize them and we just like them. They're like cheerful little singers, right? Yeah, but the body would be technically a little bit difficult. But it depends on how you handled it, right? Mary says it seems to have light reflecting off the shell. It does because of all of those colors. Absolutely beautiful piece. I'm going to look up Sue Dove today as soon as I get caught up. Let's keep going because I am not making good progress at all. I'm making awful progress, in fact. Let me speed up just a little bit. So, another beautiful piece, and yep, I've got this one the right way around. This is the very familiar monarch butterfly. In milkweed fields, plants grow and sway. Monarch lays eggs and caterpillars stay. A chrysalis formed holding secrets of delight until black and orange wings are ready for flight. Guided by instincts, a southern migration, for warmth they fly in a clustered formation, embarking on a voyage, a perilous quest to find sanctuary and warmth, a place to rest. Another beloved insect, such a push lately to be more conscious and to create habitats for these monarchs because they are becoming dangerously scarce. I'm trying to find this one. There it is. Sheila Stewart of Victoria, British Columbia. Such a beautiful piece. This is a quite realistic piece with, again, another example of a different background, right? So we are looking at a high level of realism in the butterfly, in the monarch, and in the sunflowers. And what a beautiful combination seeing these together. We've been talking a lot about compositions with multiples, and 3 is a good number. 3 and 5 are great numbers, right? Even numbers are harder to play with. This is just the right number. And when you give yourself 3 flowers, it automatically creates a space where the monarch will fit. And the fact that the wings are overlapping one of the flowers, that they are 3 of the same flower, it's a very strong composition to look at in that regard. The repetition of the color, too, creates a lushness, right? And we recognize this butterfly, right? This is one that we know. So it is in great detail, but it doesn't have to be in ridiculous detail because we're familiar with it. We know what it looks like. And the main thing about this butterfly are the little white spots and the black and orange colors, right? The character of this butterfly. We are seeing, we get it, we recognize it. And it's kind of nice to see the butterfly small and an emphasis on these beautiful flowers. They're hooked in such a gorgeous and successful way that they are a pleasure to look at. Now that leaves the background. What's going on in the background? Well, the background is more like the first one we saw with a lot of green, like the lacewing, right? It looks like it is pulled threads or dragged threads. And what that is, I think we're looking at dip dyed wool pieces that have literally been hooked in a staggered way, kind of like if you used to do Bargello as needlepoint, you understand the principle of dragging color to create a pattern, right? This is the same thing. Oh, someone so cute is at the bird feeder. I hope that buttons. Oh, it's like a little smudgy. What are those little ones called? Not budgies. Oh, it'll come to me. Little gray smudge on the chest. It's dragging because if it was all lined up, it would be stripy, right? So this is the strips are being dragged. So the placement of each subsequent one it's a little bit further along. You have to plan it, right? It's not going to land like this automatically. You have to be thoughtful, pay attention while you're hooking and drag it to get this kind of effect. But it gives it a very, what water silk looks like, or watered silk. It's silk that has a pattern in it because the threads are dragged when it is being made, right? When it is being manufactured, some of the threads are pulled and dragged, and it gives it the effect that it's a watercolor and it's kind of bleeding. Not bleeding blood, but bleeding, the color is bleeding. And this is the same effect here of watered silk. So it's almost like you're looking at a watery background. It's a brilliant effect. It's a technical effect. I wouldn't say that it's a difficult effect, but you need to know that you have a large enough piece of wool, whether it's dip dyed multicolors or because you can see at the top, there's more of the sort of dark turquoisey aquamarine blue, right, going into like a navy. And on the bottom, you're seeing more of a green, like a sea green blue, not a turquoise, but a sea green blue. So we're looking at different blues from top to bottom. It's more green at the bottom. It's more heading toward turquoise at the top, right? I would say like in terms of color, like the Dharma color, like Cayman blue, like that kind of a blue at the top. Like marbled paper as a background. Absolutely. So this is something you can do. This is something you can practice. And obviously if you hook a row and then you hook the next row and it lines up perfectly, you might say to yourself, it's not, I need to space it out further. It's not hooking up as dynamically as I can. You need to have a good amount of fabric. Like you need to have extra that is either ombre dyed, which means like navy blue to very light blue, or dip dyed, which means like more than one color. So let's say navy blue to sea green, right? And you have a ton of it and it goes dark to light because you need to pay attention when you hook a background like this to get this dragged color effect, this watered silk effect. You need to pay attention to the, am I starting with dark or am I starting with light? Because you need to repeat it and you need to stagger it if you want it to create a pattern. Otherwise, it's going to make a beautiful multicolored mottled background, but it's not going to make a pattern. You have to, it's like knitting. You have to pay attention with this technique if you really want a pattern to emerge. The monarch's main food source is the milkweed, and it lays eggs in it as well. I know that because there's a lot of fairs lately around here where they show you monarchs and they want you to plant milkweed. And we do have milkweed. And we planted it at our last house because it's very exciting to think about attracting the monarch and then to have it fly south at the end of the year. There's a big send-off for monarchs at Hammonasset Beach in Connecticut. When it is time for them to migrate, there's a big, big send-off. It is a big event when they do that every year. The blue has almost a water effect, bringing more attention to the monarch. That's true. It really, because orange and blue are opposite colors, opposite on the color wheel, so technical. So it really sets off both the orange and the yellow. It gives a great background. It's not a literal background, and the rest of it is literal. It's not a literal background, so great color contrast, right? We're looking at something that's very appealing because of the choices of color. But it gives your eye a rest from the realism in the background. We're still looking at patterning. We're still looking at something that it technically is difficult, right? It's not just a hit or miss background. It's a very thoughtful background in the way that it's hooked, but it's very, very different than the realism in the flowers and the monarch. The monarch is a little bit on the more graphic side. So we are seeing some different styles here, which just creates all around more interest. I might even with this episode not get to all, but we will still move on. We have got 3 more. I'll do sort of an abridged. I hate to rush any of them, but I do have so much dying to do today. This is Luna Moth, and Luna Moth's poem goes like this. A beautiful creature of the night, drawn to the moon in its gentle light, their wingspan so wide they flutter and soar, in search of nectar they seek and explore. Its emerald eyes shimmer in the night, with wings delicate as silk spun so tight. It's a symbol of transformation or a sign of rebirth, a reminder of nature's wonder on earth. Well, that one is particularly beautiful. I think we are all aware of the Luna moth and love the Luna moth. This is a great piece, and this is a great tribute to the piece. Let's see who made this. I am going to run over today for sure. This is Susan Ferraro of Bailey Island, Maine. Gorgeous piece. This is yarn. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Can spare some more room here, so let's do it. Susan Ferraro. Yeah, this is all hooked in yarn. To me, it looks hooked and not punched, and just the way that it's laid out. And we don't know, of course. Just a beautiful insect, and an emphasis on the insect, but more going on, right? So we are getting a great close-up because this insect has unusual spots, and I know that you've seen these because these are so popular lately. I love the way that the little body's laid out. Do you notice and can you see that its body is I think it's cut. It looks like it has a pile to it. The little head and the furry little body looks like it is cut. I can't tell if it's raised at all in a Waldoboro style or if it's just cut. You notice how the very hairy antennae are also done in a different style. To me, it looks like it is hooked. The center is hooked, but it looks to me like to get those delicate little hairs, or did we say cilia? Those look stitched to me. Those don't look hooked. It might be carry hooked, like hooked over a distance, carried, or it may be stitched. It's hard to say. I think the center of each antenna is hooked, and I think there is needlework after that to get that sort of fineness of all those little hairs. It is an absolutely beautiful piece. The color is great here because it's this kind of key lime with more yellow and more citrus colors introduced. It's not solid, and right against this background sky of several different colors of blue is really striking. So the insect gives way to these colors of blue that are really exciting, right? And magical night sky. We're seeing little stars in the night sky. We're seeing immediately above the lunar moth, the luna, the moon itself. And we're seeing the kind of man in the moon face, right? This very realistic face. This looks like an applique to me. So it might be uh, felted. It might be a felted face. It might be printed or painted somehow, or it might be a photo transfer that's appliqued. It's hard to know, but it's definitely an applique piece. And it seems to be sitting at the same height, the same surface of the finished loops. So it says to me that there's some kind of padding beneath it. It doesn't seem recessed, the face, right? I think it would take away from it if it were. So be thinking about that. We've talked about that on past episodes. When something is appliqued, unless you are thoughtful about padding behind it, it will fall to the back, right? And then that is sometimes distracting. That's not happening here. That's a very prominent little face. The blue colors give way to that dark, dark midnight blue. It doesn't look like black to me. It looks like midnight. So we are seeing this sort of ombre shades of blue, the entire story of the night going from nightfall to like the very inky black of the night. And around the bottom, more storytelling happening. We're seeing a scattering. It's not balanced, right? It's very organic scattering of evergreens. They look like pine trees. So those around the bottom, right, that's creating a nice base. This is a very symmetrical composition, and it really works. It's not perfectly symmetrical, right? Keeps you guessing a little bit. The trees are a little unbalanced. The background, it's not an exact breakdown of shades of blue. It's keeping it organic. It's keeping it interesting to look at. It's an absolutely gorgeous piece. Breathtaking moth in real life. Yeah, I don't think I've seen one of these in real life, I gotta say. And Laura, you love this one as well. I do too. I do too. It's, you know, the moth has such an unusual body with this like sort of fan shape that comes off of it, like these tails. That in the antennae, right? These are things that are really different about this moth. And they are really being featured because the contrast is so great. And I love that. I mean, part of the romance of the Luna moth is the name. I love that the moon is being featured with this sort of soft, friendly smile, because making that loop back to the name of the moth, I think is really sweet and charming. Not just the moth, but referring to its name as well, I think is really sweet. So let's come back here. We're going to keep going. Oh, this is going to be a hard one. Let me see which ones I've got left. Close your eyes. Okay. I think I'm going to do this one as a last one, because I think the last one is the dung beetle. I'll show you that one quickly. These are all so much to say, aren't they? I'm going to do them both. And these are the last two in the slideshow. So here comes spotted lanternfly, one word. Its wings like a painting in red and black, with spots upon them, a polka dot track. Despite its beauty, you won't soon forget, to trees and crops it poses a threat. Invasive and hungry, they spread far and wide. Sipping on sap, they devour and glide. Through awareness and all our efforts combined, let's halt its spread, leave no invader behind. So these guys are little devils, aren't they? They are doing some bad work. And let me see who made this one. This is a beautiful composition. Tracy Jamar. Okay, not surprised. We've done stuff with Tracy Jamar too, right? You saw me talking to her and looking at her work at the last McGowan show. That was right at the end of the summer. No, that was in July, right? So that's there for you too if you love Tracy Jamar's work. She's from New York. Beautiful piece. And the thing about Tracy Jamar, right, that really stands out is she loves using different techniques. So I'll stretch this one out, but in this piece, she is using a lot of quilly, if you can spot it. Like basically all of the circles are quilly, and a lot of standing wool, right? So those two different techniques in addition to hooking. She's using some patterned fabrics. She's using some solids. We are seeing two lanternflies. So one with the wings closed and one with the wings outspread, right? The spotted lantern. So you get a view of what it looks like close up. I think I'm seeing little beads for the eyes, like little dark beads. And with the wings spread, you're getting to see the red colors. She's using a lot of neutrals here, all of the whites, grays, blacks, and browns. And she's using complementary colors, the reds and the greens, and she's using lots of both, a mix of both, right? So that is super interesting. We're seeing the veining on it in browns, and we're seeing the body in brown. So we're getting a real feel that while this is a beautiful insect, it's a dangerous insect to have around, but it is a beautiful insect with very unusual colors, kind of tiger colors under the red wings. Let me make it a little bit bigger, and you can see a bit more of even bigger. Let's go for one more pop. You can see the quilly, right? All of the quillies, like the little circles, like the little cinnamon buns laying in the wings, and of course they are about the same size as the wool strips. Remember, when you are starting wool stripping, hooking, people will say, how high are you supposed to pull up your strips, right? And I am not one for rules, but in general, people will say, teachers will say, you should pull up your strip about as high as the strip is wide, right? Doesn't mean that that's a rule and you always have to do that. But it's interesting to note, because if you are pulling up the strip as high as the strip is wide, and you are making quillies to attach out of the same colors of strips, they will naturally land at the same height, right? Because it's sitting as wide as the strip is too, right? You see what I mean? So there's no worry about padding or different heights, like, because if you stick to that sort of rule, they will be even when you do either. You see all the standing wool in here too. Those are the strips that are sewn down. Their edge is sewn down to the backing fabric, and the reason they're standing is because loops are holding them up on both sides. They are sewn with a needle and thread. That's not a hooking technique, but it is a common technique, standing wool, that we see in rug hooking compositions. So this is something we often see. Insect could have gotten lost because lots of colors, but it didn't. Absolutely, it could have gotten lost. It is a much busier composition than many, right? So while I wouldn't say that the I hope I didn't, wait a minute. Oh shoot, hang on, I'm having a struggle. Oh no, I hope I didn't lose it. There it goes. I collapsed it so low that I couldn't grab the edge of it. Let me just make it regular size once more. Yeah, this composition is very much at risk of it getting lost. I think what's helping it is that the wings are so pronounced, right? They are so different. They're so light compared to the background. She's got pink and yellow in the wings too, I gotta say, besides the brown. So it's not like she's making boring wings just to be sure that there's the heavy contrast. She's making it colorful, right? She's a very colorful person, and she's truly an artist. It's not getting lost because, number one, there's two, right? So there's strength in numbers here. We're seeing two, and our eye immediately locks in the patterned wings. So it becomes easy to see, right? There's two of them, right? So that really cements the bug activity in this piece. In the background, even though there's lots of colors and it's very wild and very abstract, it is all colors we would expect to see, right? It's all greens and browns. So our eye goes, okay, this has two bugs, and I'm looking at nature colors in the background, browns and greens, right? I like how down at the bottom left, she does a cutout with an applique with a little penny and a little applique spotted lanternfly, and she's showing you the actual size because he's just a little guy, and he's a tiny little guy. This is an extreme close-up, and he's causing all kinds of mischief, isn't he? Beautiful piece by Tracy Jamar. I'm going to move to our last piece here, which is dung beetle. Now, I have seen these. I remember when I used to take tour groups out to the Little Bighorn battlefield. I would take long walks while they were in the museum, and I did see these little guys rolling the dung beetles, rolling the dung along. And yeah, I remember that well. I thought, how funny and strange are these little ones? I'm just looking for the page. Here we go. This is a really interesting one too. I'm going to show you this one stretched out. Dung beetle. This beetle is fascinating. So here's the scoop. They clean up the world by gathering poop. With strong hind legs, they roll their ball, scattering seeds on their backwards crawl. Using the stars so they don't stray, they navigate using the Milky Way. Laying eggs in poop so that their young can eat, adults slurp liquid from this stinky treat. Well, that is a pooper and a half. They are busy, busy bugs. Yeah, this is so interesting to see in real life. um, yeah, it is entrancing to see. I'm sad that this the quality of this one is like it seems dark to me. Let me make it a little bit bigger because I can't change color once I'm live, which is frustrating. Let's see first who made Dung Beetle. Yvonne Eiten Scott. This is her own from Erin, Ontario, Canada. I want to show it to you here too because I feel like, I feel like the color is not great. You see how amazing the color is in the actual composition. So let's stay here for a minute and say, remember how in this series we were talking a lot about diagonals. When you have a main motif, it's a really good thing to think about using a diagonal as a trick because you don't have a ton going on in the composition. Having a diagonal really creates drama, it creates energy, it forces you to look at the composition in a non-conventional way, right? Your eye just is um, follows the diagonal line, and you're forced to look at both the thing that is being rolled and the beetle itself, right? And the storytelling happens under that diagonal. So it creates a great sort of theatrical curtain, right? This one diagonal stripe. I love how many materials are in this piece. Let me make it a bit larger and let's look at it from motif to motif. Let's start with the ball, the dung ball. And you see how there's all of these fancy fibers in here. There's beads in here, right? But there's also kind of, I'm seeing eyelash yarn, maybe ladder yarn, different, maybe sari ribbon, different kinds of yarn, different weights of yarn, maybe even raffia. I'm not sure because you can't hook with raffia. Um, a big blend of stuff in this ball, and it looks very organic because we can see shagginess to it, right? And the beads are in natural colors, greens, yellows, browns, right? We know what palette that's pulling from. It's the poop palette, but it literally makes sense. But I have to say, this is the most artistic ball of poop I have ever seen, or I think anyone has ever seen. It is really smart to use all of these beautiful fibers to make this object, right? And the bug itself is made out of some kind of, it looks leathery, but it's not. It's applique on. It's got sort of butterscotch or amber colored bead eyes down at the bottom right because it works backwards. It works with its hind legs, right? This is applique on. It looks like a kind of shiny, maybe like bathing suit material or leggings material, bit of a shiny, like almost a snakeskin iridescence to it, but it looks like a stretchy material and it has been sewn and applied. On its back, I'm seeing a different material that looks more like an upholstery weight cloth that is buttonhole stitched right on the back and on the lower back, right on the shell part and on the back right under the head. That is buttonhole stitched, probably possibly on a sewing machine, but maybe by hand, right around the edge to seal it up, right? And then all of these bugle beads applied, like these long beads applied. Looks like corduroy. Could be corduroy. Could well be corduroy. Or could be corduroy or some kind of upholstery material. But you're right, it does have ruts or gullies because the beads are sitting in those gullies. There's like hollows to it. So could be corduroy, but it does make a lot of sense to apply those long beads into those little gullies. And so those two features are done. I'm going to make it small again in very specific styles. But wait, the ground is straight up hooked in many colors, but it is straight up hooked, right? So, and we're still getting a little bit of the novelty material. We're seeing the shagginess. Some of the things that this dung beetle are finding on the ground, they're working into their ball, right? So this is what they do. They collect as they go. So we're seeing some of that shagginess in the ground, but we are seeing strong directional hooking in the ground. It's just horizontal, right? And that's interesting to note because the diagonal is very strong in this piece. The sky is diagonal and the bug is diagonal. And the thing that's kind of stopping or halting that diagonal motion is this big ball. So this is a very shape-driven piece, right? It's exciting in the way that it's been laid out. The composition is extremely successful and very thoughtful. New Moon, I was thinking it was a sheer fabric with the background showing through between the stripes. For what part do you mean? The bug itself? the brown parts on the bug. Um, could be. It does look to me. It looks looking at the book. It looks like upholstery fabric. It looks like velvet. Um, it looks like those upholstery books, when you're lucky enough to find those upholstery books and you get like the same color or companion, the bug body, the same color companion, like brown with brown, but they're slightly different prints. To me, it looks like that. Like it's not the body, and it's the back of its like neck, like its upper shoulders. Those are definitely two different fabrics. And they actually could both be taken from an upholstery book with the beads already applied. You know how you see that too for like pillows and stuff like that? Because there is some decorative stitching on its shoulder plate, and then on its back plate, it's the beading. So it could be that these are coming finished out of an upholstery book. That's why I always pick up those upholstery books, because you never know. And that would also explain the hand buttonhole stitch around the edge of it to seal it up, because it would be very inclined to unravel itself, right? That would be my guess, but I'm getting a good close up, and you're just getting this like second generation photo, right? Let's talk about this sky, because the sky is somebody said cosmic. Let me find that comment. Yeah, Diane, you said I'm going to say the background looks cosmic. Now I know it is. Yeah, it really is. It's the Milky Way, right? It's that great reference to the Milky Way and using the sky, right? So it can navigate, it won't get lost. It's actually using the sky. It's aware of its very big surroundings, this little bug out there looking to the sky, right? It is cosmic, and that great diagonal Milky Way of color, that burst of color, is so beautiful and such an important piece of storytelling here. It adds much needed color to a piece that otherwise is very blue and very brown. Yvonne has done tons here to add interest to this composition. I'm going to make it small one more time. You know, this subject could be, you could choose it and then say, and of course she's one of the curators, one of the two curators for this book, along with Leslie Knight. um, you could say to yourself, oh man, I chose a dung beetle. Wow, that's brown ground, brown beetle, brown poop against a blue sky. How am I going to make this work? But she made it work by including so many fancy fibers, novelty fibers, and these exciting materials on the beetle's back, making an applique beetle that really stands out. Mary says it almost looks like chenille. It does. It's way more rigid than chenille, but you're right. The sort of corrugated quality to that, the shell on the back, is very dynamic, right? There's lots of ups and downs there. I love the hooking in the sky. It's big wide pieces, it's wool, it's yarn, it's a mix of pieces, and then that sweep of rainbow to represent the Milky Way. It's very exciting, and has created so much color in a piece that didn't automatically have a lot of built-in color choices. This is a rough pick, but she is such a pro, right? She would pick something difficult knowing that she would be able to figure it out in the end. Lots of beads and bits in the poop, lots. So all of these different techniques, along with the rug hooking, it is, I would say, 70% hooked. And um, I'm guessing that most of the circle poop is stitched, I would guess. I might be wrong. It could be that much of it is applied. It could be carry hooked again, but I'm guessing a lot of it is stitched. It's hard to say. That in itself has such a lot of movement, right? The circle quality, right? To like the evolving circle as it gets bigger and bigger as the dung beetle works, it really comes across, right? You really get the idea that he's snowballing, not with snow, and he's collecting as he goes. And it's another piece that has a lot of energy and movement to it, right? Great storytelling properties to it. I just want to remind you that there's a lot more bugs in this book, right? So this book has, what was it, 40 bugs? 45 bugs. We have not looked at 45 by any stretch of the imagination. There are, I'll just flash like something like this, right? You see the beetle, that's the love bug. There are so many more compositions that are exquisite. stag beetle, redback spider, um, many that I can't pronounce, coastal peacock spider, the thorn bug. There are tons of bugs in this book. The feather horned beetle, um, the witchetty grub. Um, there's tons. There's tons, and they're all beautiful and they're all special. They all have a different story to tell. And there are more techniques in this book than I would say I've ever seen in any one book. um, the people who chose to participate in this project were confident, ambitious people who felt like they could figure it out, right? And that's all you need to be when you're working in rug hooking. Can I figure out how to get the end result that I want? Am I willing to think about different techniques? And carry hook is when you are hooking, but you're still using a hook as opposed to a needle, but you're dragging it not to the next hole, but you're dragging a stitch on the surface much further, right? So you're carrying it, but you're still using a rug hook to pull it back down. So you're not going from hole to hole and pulling up, you're dragging it, still using a hook, but you're going to have to pull it back down at a certain point. You're using a hook in place of a needle. Um, so it's just a question of choice. I would way prefer if I'm carrying on purpose, if I'm carrying on the surface. Sometimes we carry behind for different reasons, right? And those we talk about those technical reasons why sometimes we carry on the back just for the sake of continuity, and you know you're not going to return to that spot, so you know you're not going to pull out stitches. But when you carry on the front, you can choose between whether you want to keep with your hook, knowing that you're sometimes going to be pulling up and sometimes going to be pulling down from the back because you're dragging your loop somewhere and you need to get it back down. You can use your hook, or you can use anything with an eye and a dull point, right? You can use plastic needles with a huge eye because you got to get your wool strip or your fiber in there. So you need the eye to be big enough to drag something across. But if you don't feel good about switching implements, you can still hook, but you are going to be carrying it sometimes on the top and pulling it up like a regular rug hook loop, and sometimes you're going to be pulling it down from below, and you're just carrying it across to get some distance, more than one loop distance. And the result is it looks more like a stitch than a loop. It's not a loop anymore, it's a stitch. But yeah, if you're like me and you don't like getting up from the couch and you already have your hook in your hand, you think, it's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to stick with the hook because I don't feel like going into my craft area and looking for something with a needle and an eye to it. It's just a choice. Laziness dictates a lot of my choices. I'm the first one to admit. All right, didn't realize my lamp was still on. I hope it hasn't been on since last night. I think it has. Dang it. Well, you know what? I'm glad that we finished. There's so much more there for you. Remember to get in touch with Leslie Knight in Canada or Yvonne Eitenscott, no, or Gail Dufresne in the US for a copy of this fabulous book. Don't let it pass you by. If they end up not printing any more copies, right? You're going to be one of those people in 5 years who is searching for this on Rug Hooking Buy and Sell or one of the equivalents, and you're going to see it for 150, 300, 400 because it's just not going to be there for you. And then it's going to be like feeding frenzy. People turn into animals, right? It's the running of the bulls when one pops up. Get it now while it's issue price. I think it's maybe 40, something like that. I think in the high 30s or 40, it's worth every penny, right? Small press. So I hope that you've enjoyed this series as much as I have. I've enjoyed this series tons. It's not often that a book comes along where there's so many things to talk about and so many examples to look at. This is a glorious picture book and one of the best inspiration books that I have ever seen. So I will see you next time. I'll let you know how it goes for Friday. It depends on how progress is going with the presentation for the rug show on Saturday. But I do plan to come to you live on Saturday when I'm doing a presentation at 3 p.m. I don't know if it'll be on the dot because it depends on when everybody rolls in, right? It's an actual party. So I probably will end up talking more like 3:15, 3:30 kind of a thing. But we will come live as soon as it makes sense and be on for however long we can. And yeah, and you'll be able to see some of the presentation for the Rose's Tail rugs in the rug show, 40 rugs that is up right now at the Unitarian Society of Hartford, 50 Bloomfield Ave, Hartford, Connecticut. That's coming up at 3 p.m. this Saturday. Yes, it's Valentine's Day. You won't believe how many people are bringing Valentine-themed snacks and cookies and things like that. It's going to be a really festive day, right? And I think there'll be a lot of Galentine's there too. So maybe I see you there in person. Maybe I see you there for the live show. In the meantime, if I can get it together to put content together before then for another Friday show, I will. And in that case, I'd be looking at a game show. Fingers crossed I get a lot done this week. I will see you soon regardless. Have a great week, everybody. And if you need me, write to me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com.